Is it on?
Yep.
Hey.
Hello. So,
Hello.
we're Stephanie started? It sounds like it's definitely started. Okay. Oh, that's going to really mess me up, being able to hear my echo.
Echo.
Oh no, it's messing me up.
Just put the headphones on and unplug the other headphones.
They'll get it worked out.
Yeah, it's just, I'll have these weird half sentences.
Yes,
These weird half sentences where I'm hearing myself and getting. It's a thing where I don't know what the name of the effect is, but if you can hear yourself talking just with a little bit of delay, it totally messes up your speech pattern. Hello, by the way.
Hello.
We just met there because you arrived.
Ago.
Yeah. So why don't you introduce yourself and I'll say what we're doing here.
I'm so excited. I am. Should I use all my titles since you have all these people? The Reverend Doctor.
I was going to ask because I'd often annoy people by, like I'm from Ireland, and it's like everything to me is a priest.
Yeah.
Every religious thing is a mass. That's of course not true. I just say that for funsies because I know that some people.
You can call me a priest, but I'm not really. I'm a Reverend Doctor Jenny Edwards Bertrand. You are here in my sanctuary, which is probably crazy to you. Does it look anything like a cathedral in Ireland?
No, but
it doesn't even look like a church in the United States.
But that's a good thing because I don't necessarily have good associations with those places.
Most of the people who come here don't either.
Yeah.
We are in a room that used to be a corporate boardroom in the 70s.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a major Fortune 10 company, and it sat empty for a decade or so, and we rented it and put a little stage in here. Yeah,
no, it's very nice. But so, why don't you explain much larger what it is, who you guys are, who Hope Church is?
Yeah, why in the world would an atheist from Ireland who lives in Martha's Vineyard care about a church? Because church is kind of crappy, right?
Yeah.
For the most part. I'm guessing a lot of you watching this, church is crappy. So we're queer inclusive, and as such, we have mostly people in their 20s and 30s. You and I would be on the old end of this church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And this year, we know of 4 people who are still alive because of this community.
Yeah.
It's one of the only safe spaces that doesn't revolve around alcohol. A lot of safe queer spaces are at gay bars, which is fun and fine and I love. But if you're under 21 or you're sober, this is a place people can be. And it's about community. We don't have a particular, I have a faith and a belief system, but it's not one that I would impose upon people who are here.
Yeah, so I tend to think of religion as a thing bullies use to bully people. These guys clearly prove that does not have to be the case. The reason I'm here is for years now I've wanted to make like a sword that had the pride colors on it, using like techniques to do the different colors. I made that video about that, and I was like, cause it's the pride sword, the big gay sword. I was thinking I want to find some group, and my buddy Anish, who I don't know how the cameras are arranged, he's over there. He is connected to this church. He does all the tech support. He goes here, and I was fishing around for what group to do this sword in benefit of, because these charity microbills, they're usually for some charity group, and Anish was connected to this church, and I said, screw it, why not? There's a bunch of different reasons why this group is interesting to me. And so I flew here with the sword. And so because I was coming to visit Anish anyway, this all kind of came together. And so it's funny, I actually have a little tiny video. Oh, if I thought you could drop it in here. Because we're using all fancy technology, you could have totally made that. I was nervously watching out the window. I happened, when the plane landed, I happened to be looking at the place where the baggage things were being unloaded, and I was on tender hooks. And I was but eventually.
On tender hooks.
Yeah, is that not an expression? Oh!
It is now. On pins and needles. On
it's not, no, it's not on tender hooks. It's on tenter. T-E-N-T-E-R hooks, and it's to do with I just remember that randomly, that it's like not actually on tender hooks, it's on tenter hooks, but it means like, yeah, on pins and needles. But eventually I saw this thing, my luggage that had the sword in it coming down the little ramp, and I knew it had arrived safely. And so here it is now, and I thought like, oh, it'll be fun to actually bring it to the church. Like it's drowned in WD-40, so hang on, I just gotta clean it up a little bit before handing it to you. And so, have we dropped a link in for, this is the last day of the auction, there's 12 hours left in the auction. Have we dropped a link in for the thing? Shloop. Hang on.
My God.
Oh, here, hold that while I tear off a bit of this, because it's all oily. Because I tend to drown things in oil before I put them into storage.
Why is that?
Oh, because this is made from a type of carbon steel called Hardox. And so, well, that's the thing. It's like if it was made out of stainless steel, you wouldn't have to worry about the oil, but it wouldn't be as good of a sword.
Oh, okay.
And especially because this sword, because of what it was in benefit of, I was super paranoid about anybody telling me that it was like not a real sword, that it was like, because a lot of the things I make aren't actually, they're hard to use because of how heavy or huge they are, but they're not, they're all like sturdy or whatever. And I was just worried that this one had to be as strong and as sturdy as any of the other things I make, because I knew there would be people denigrating it because of having the pride cutters. Here, can you hold that?
Oh my gosh, it's so heavy. This is gorgeous.
And by standards of like a normal person's sword, it's true, this is heavy. I haven't even weighed it.
I don't
think
know
it's
a
like
normal
10.
person's sword.
Mike, people are asking you to make sure not to kill her.
You were going like, gee.
It's fine. It's fine.
We just met.
Yeah, I remember when I was doing the Red Sonja sword, the model who was very good, Alison Cameron Parry, she was very good to, agree to model in the chainmail bikini and all the rest of it. But I remember, like, I forget that other people aren't as comfortable around the things. And I remember I had all my buddies lying on this horrible brush pile, like posing to take this like Conan the Barbarian style photo. But like there was awkward sticks poking out. And so she was kind of balanced on top of this brush pile, and I was going around with a machete. We were trying to invert. I wanted to invert, like the traditional Conan the Barbarian pose where, like you have Conan and he has a woman like wrapped around his leg. And I was like, oh, wouldn't it be funny, because this is the Red Sonja sword and she's like in the same universe as Conan. We'll have a model in the chainmail bikini and the sword, and I'll dress up as like a princess slave boy or something and be wrapped around her leg. But in order to do that, we had to like pile up onto this brush pile, a lot of us. And so she was like on top of the brush pile, all awkward. And I had this machete and I was going around hacking all the parts of the brush pile that were sticking into people. But I remember she was like getting very nervous. And she was like, this is too close encounter. And it was just an odd choice of words that it always stuck with me. Is like, I don't know what that means, So my apologies. I forget that not everybody is super comfortable. I mean, I'm
new to this, and what's really funny, the week before Anish shared that you were going to do this, we were talking about gun violence here because the United States and we suck. And so we kind of used the turning swords into plowshares.
Yes.
And then the very next week, we were like, and swords into swords.
Yeah.
Well, but in a sense, it kind of turns back into plowshares.
Yeah.
With the donation back to a church that supports 20-somethings who have been kicked out of their house.
Well, this is like an awkward-ish. One of the reasons for making this is like an awkward-ish position I find myself, where I actually have no interest in swords as implements of harm. Like, I'm more interested in the blades and objects like this as kind of like very weird sculptural objects. And like, that's what I tend to do, is like that's why I make the anime and the weird ones. Like I tend to do like, like the big, huge, oversized ones. And like most of the ones I do, like the most harm they're doing is to the person who's trying to use one. I'm covered in various marks and stuff from like times that like the swords have bit me. And, but what's the point I was trying to make? Oh,
you're not into harm.
I am into these as weird sculptural objects, and kind of I like them as kind of, and there is some sort of.
This is just
Yeah.
beautiful as a
That,
sculptural
that's
object.
actually one of the smaller, more usable ones I've ever made. And, you know, like I said, I was worried about people who were like, you're going to make fun of it as a sword because of the nature of what it was in support of. So it's like a little bit more utilitarian, a little bit more usable than my usual things. But yeah, like I said,
But
like
still
there's
beautiful.
this tension in what I do. Same with you guys in religion, like the tension between like
The bullies.
the bullies who like these objects as not that people who are into knives and how efficient they are, but there does seem to be like a I mean, there's no denying that like sharp, pointy things, you're going to get like a weird guy talking about how this one is good at killing people because of this, and you have odd conversations about like, oh, and this one has a blood groove, and the blood groove is good because it makes people bleed out. And it's like, oh Jesus, I'm not really into any of this. I'm more kind of like, I like playing Final Fantasy VII, and it had all these silly weapons in it that look kind of cool, and I'm more into that than talking about how, and this knife was the ultimate survival tool, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's just, it's a different thing. It's interacting with any of my weapons probably lowers your survival chance overall. Like there's a concept called micromorts, which is like measuring, like every cigarette is worth a certain amount of micromorts, and you can measure like how much of your time, how many micromorts a thing has taken off your life. And
Is
yeah,
that in real life or in other?
no, in real life, it's
Okay.
I don't know how much it's caught on as an idea, but people can look up like the
Okay.
idea of a micromort, and definitely a lot of the things I make add to. I mean, actually, I was going to say the things I make add to your micromort total, but that's not. I mean, I'm sure if you get the numbers and the science are in, interacting with guns also probably adds to your micromorts a fair bit as well.
So micromorts takes away or adds?
Takes away,
Takes away.
It's like a
Okay.
little bit of your life is gone because you interacted with this thing. You know?
Okay.
So how are you?
How am I?
Yeah. That's just
It's
what
just
I said.
in life.
Yeah. Because I got to the end of the thought I had. I have ADD, so I tend to like go.
That's why everyone loves listening to you.
Yeah.
And I'm new. I'm a new fan. So, you know, it hasn't been the greatest summer, but that just sometimes happens. Had some dear people in my life who passed away.
Oh, no.
And my dog died, but
Oh, no.
I know. My husband, I think this crowd of people might appreciate this. When the kids are in bed and not in front of them, we have a 5 and a 10-year-old. He's like, this is kind of the summer of death, isn't it? But
Holy moly.
it's also been a really nice summer, and we've spent a lot of time at the pool. And 5 and 10-year-olds are fun.
Yeah, mine are.
They still like you. They want to be around you.
Mine are 11 and 14. I keep thinking that my
Okay.
son is 9 for some reason. It's like your brain gets stuck on something.
Yeah.
My 11-year-old still likes me, but
Okay.
no.
So I still have a couple more, another year.
Yeah, my Nova, my 14-year-old, she's like getting up there in terms of like not knowing whether or not I'm cool. Imagine if your dad was me and you don't know whether or not he's cool or not.
I loved your video with her.
Thank you.
That
Yeah.
was so great. And she
Yeah.
was explaining broader understanding of what it means to be queer.
Yeah, that was. I haven't even edited that full video together yet, but yeah, that was going to be up on the Patreon. The one where she was asking me the flags, and I was doing my buddy Anthony, the cameraman, he was filming. He was like, "Mike, you might want to check with people beforehand to see like, would you get cancelled for this video?" But like, I'm not worried. I am so not worried about getting cancelled because like you don't get cancelled for not knowing something. You get cancelled for being like an asshole about not wanting to know something, or
Yes.
like being belligerent. Like you don't get cancelled for asking. You get cancelled for being like an asshole. You know.
Yeah.
And like there's a difference between like genuinely asking questions about a
The
thing.
curiosity, that's what we say to whether it's an ally for LGBTQ plus people or an ally in the Black Lives Matter movement, an ally in anti-racism. Like sometimes you have to ask questions and figure it out
Yeah.
and
that's
learn.
fine. Is it?
There's like 3 of us that are all polite and say person.
Yeah.
Is there any good questions in the stream?
Yeah,
Sorry,
if you
we're
guys-
neglecting because
Yeah,
normally I'm looking at a little camera, and normally I'm sitting in front of a screen when I do these, and I can see the
So-
questions and they're screaming past.
Yeah, so one thing people still want to know why you're not on Forged in Fire, and maybe you can do the thing where you explain that you're not a blacksmith, that you're a
You want me to
welder
explain yet again how I'm not a blacksmith? Okay, so I've never to full disclosure, right? I've never actually watched an episode of Forged in Fire. Like, it's not my thing. I'm sure the guys on Forged in Fire are nice dudes, but they tend more towards the, like, it will kill, or however that guy pronounces it, has become a meme. And like I've said previously, I am less interested in how sharp something is or how good it is at gutting a ballistic dummy than I am with just how cool does the thing look. But on top of that, I am not a blacksmith. I never said I was a blacksmith, but people, they see me wearing the apron and they see me making swords and they just assume. Like if I do, like the handle of this guy is called a pineapple twist, and that was made using traditional blacksmithing techniques. So when I have to do some sort of blacksmithy thing, this shape here, blacksmithing this out is the best way to make this shape. So that's how I did it. But this blade, these notches that the colors are in, the best way to do that I had was with a air-powered die grinder. So that's what I used. And the blade itself is, this one is small enough that you could have made it using traditional blacksmithing techniques, but the usual monstrous things I make are like for one guy working by himself, usually no. And so I buy a type of hardened steel plate called Hardox. It's like intended for like the scoops on diggers and blades and sugarcane harvesting machines and stuff like that. And that's what I use because hardening and tempering a huge massive blade like that by myself is too daunting. And that's not the background I come from. I'm a welder fabricator. I started making places like this. Like I make the skeletons for warehouses, spiral staircases, fire escapes that no one will ever see or appreciate. And we hope. Like if somebody, but even somebody who's running down a fire escape, right? Because they desperately need it. They're going to appreciate it's there, but they're not going to stop halfway and go, oh, that's a nice bit of welding on that bit. Look at it. You know, that's not going to happen, you know. And what's the point I was making? I am not a blacksmith, so I do not fit into the tone of that show. I've heard that people have been on it before and failed out of it because they haven't done enough actual blacksmithing in it. And I have a lot of blacksmith friends on Facebook. I have nothing against blacksmithing. It's not what I do. And I do feel there's a kind of a snobbishness about the like, oh, if it's blacksmithied, it's therefore better. And it's like, it's
blacksmithied the real verb?
I don't know.
I like it.
Like I know so little about it. The forged. I think forged was the word. Yeah.
I'm going to start saying blacksmithied.
I mean, in the olden days, right, steel had a bunch of impurities in it, and you had to hit it with the hammer to bring the impurities out and get it gone. Nowadays, you have Hardox. The Hardox is as pure as you're going to get it.
Yeah. And so, but it depends on what your goal is. Like, if your goal is to do a bit of role play about like the past and like feel a connection to history and blah blah blah. That I was at medieval times last night. This is a brand new experience for me, and
what did
there
you
was
think
something.
Of it?
It was very like it was. I always am threatening to get like a taste of real America, and medieval times is aggressively American. You know, it's like this pretend. They're pretending about a past that they never actually had, and it's great fun, you know, like huge amount of fun. It's like somebody saw WWE and said, "Can we do a medieval version of this with a bunch of swords and armor and dressage? Hey, and let's throw dinner in too. Why not?" And that's what medieval times is. It's great. It's fun, but if you're going there for like an authentic experience, like I want to experience what real medieval times was like, it's like you're not going to get it in medieval times. Just like, I don't know, maybe take off all your clothes, go find a pile of mud, lie down in it and die. That's like your real medieval experience. And so if you're getting a knife, And you want to have this experience about like feeling a connection to history and time, and humans have been making these for a very long, like that's not what I do, that's not what I'm into. And yeah, so if you're into the role playing about having this connection to time and history, then yeah, blacksmithing the thing is the way to go. And you could argue about like, well, that sure is like a modern belt sander, the blacksmith, but shh, let's pretend, you know? And but like that's the main way blacksmithing is superior to what I do, is for having this like deep connection to this thing that humans have been doing for a long time. But just in terms of like the utility or the strength or any of the rest of that, it's all kind of nonsense, you know, in my opinion.
So Mike, Scott wants to know if you can weld less common metals like brass and copper or Nordic gold to steel.
I don't know what Nordic gold is. But it's not actually, for copper and brass, it's not actually welding, except for, I mean, I don't know how many definitions the word weld is. For copper and brass, that would be brazing, you know, and so, but it's the same principle, is you get something really hot, and you melt it, and then it goes shloop, and then it's stuck there. But there'll never be the same level of join between a piece of brass and a piece of steel that there is between two pieces of steel, because when you do that, like the stuff melts and it's all one thing. But when you braze something, the brass or the copper melts at such a lower temperature than the actual steel that it's the brass is on there, but it's not really part of the. There's been no fusion at that like molecular level or whatever. It's like it's on there. It's probably not going to come off, but it's not. There is one way to get dissimilar metals to fuse in that way, and it's got the awesome name of explosion welding. Ooh. And I don't know what it's used for. Done that? No, well, I'm going to explain what it was. Where it's done in deep mines, disused mines, and what they do is they get to. It was discovered, like a lot of things, during World War I, when people were picking up like helmets that had like bits of things stuck to them, but like it was dissimilar metals, and people were like, "What the hell?" So in explosion welding, you get like two sheets of steel, like a sheet of steel and a sheet of brass, and it's this deep underground in this mine, and you cover the top of it with explosives, and it's all very controlled and very scientific, and then like they go up at the surface level and they press go on a button that goes boom, and like the two sheets of steel are like fused together, and it's called explosion welding. So I assume it's not called explosion brazing. So I assume there's a deeper join, but just like a guy working in a shop, it's going to be brazing. It's like a brazing process. Like there's no actual fusion at that deep level. I hope that answers the question.
Siren Wright, you know, our friend, he wants to know when people started to notice your work and how you feel about all the attention.
So I didn't really understand or like the internet up until, I mean, like it was okay, like for like a moments of, but I wasn't really super that into it until about 2007, right? And then 2007, I made that first really crappy garbage replica of the Buster Sword that I hope not even a lot of you guys have seen it, because that video is cringeworthy. And the a friend of mine, it was so big, it's so huge. Like back in the day, I would just take a photograph of my thing and then it would go away. But the Buster Sword was so massive, it was like over 7 foot long, that my buddy of mine called Podge, the same guy who designed this logo, he said, "You should put a video of that up on YouTube." And I said to Podge, "What is a YouTube?" And then he explained to me, and I was like, so YouTube is basically, we don't have public access television in Ireland, but like, so it's public access television, but online? Like any old ding dong can upload a video here? And he's like, yeah, basically. And that's what got me addicted to the internet, right? Is because me and my brother were into making amateur movies and things before. And so like, I liked making little amateur movies. And YouTube was a place to put little amateur movies. So we made this video with this YouTube. We made this, like, I think it's like 144p if you look it up now. It's like from 2007. But the thing that really got me glued to it was the feedback. Like if it was just a place to host videos, like people say on YouTube, don't look at the comments, and comments are usually like you know, that can be nasty or whatever. But that is actually what got me interested in the internet. It's like I uploaded this creative thing, boop, and then I started getting feedback. And so 2007 is when I started to get noticed, and then it kept going and going and going. And I'm trying to think of like when it took off. Cracked mentioned me in an article. Do you remember Cracked.com back when that was popular? And that was the first time I got famous. And I am a little bit of an attention. I don't want to say the word, but you know what I mean. I like attention. And so I was always okay with the attention. It gave me something to do. I felt like I was getting feedback. Like a lot of weirdos on the internet, there wasn't enough people in my local space to have like the level of interest in what I was doing that like I needed and stuff. So 2007 and it ramped up, and then 2015 was this very important point where they made the TV show about me, and then interest in me exploded, and that's when, I can't remember what the other half of the question was, but I have liked the attention, but little bits and pieces along the way, like the Cracked article becomes popular. At some other point, NPR came out and they did an audio interview with a guy who works primarily in a visual field, but that audio interview got out to a slightly wider base, and then from the audio interview, Cape Cod Times came out and they did a little video interview with me, and that got out to a different base, and eventually somebody in Hollywood heard about me, and so then the Hollywood guys came out and bloop, 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 but just if you do something weird and you want to do it professionally, just keep doing it. Like, just keep doing it and putting yourself out there.
Someone wants to know if you've ever thought about making a Thundercat sword.
Not only have I thought about it, I've done it. Like, if you look up, is that one called the Sword of Omens?
Sword of Omens.
Sword of Omens. If you look up the Sword of Omens on YouTube, there's a very old, crappy video of mine of the first sword. I was very proud of that sword. Like, at the time I made that sword, it was probably one of the best swords I'd ever made. And I will be doing another one at some point, because that's the last sword. People often ask me about ordering swords off me. I am so booked out. I am incredibly booked out. But the very last sword on my list is the Sword of Omens. So I don't know, check back in 3 years. I might have that one done.
Mike, people have asked me if you could put the link to the auction in the YouTube comments. I can't because I'm just a admin.
Oh no!
In the stream comments or description. Description is the word I'm looking for.
I'm going to put it in the comments and the description. I have the technology. Hopefully. Actually, I hope I can get back to the live control room from here. Whoop. Hang on. We're going to try this now. I wish I'd done it before. We're loading a thing.
Will you put the camera on Anish for a second? And I want to ask Anish, how in the world did you find Mike, and what's your connection?
So I met Mike through the internet, and creepy internet dating. I met Mike because I was a fan, and then I ordered. I asked, when I became a Patreon, I asked him to do a video on how to build the Voltron sword, which is this 65 meter.
Please don't judge. Anish will have to explain this to me.
Yeah, it's a 65 meter sword, so it'd be more sculpture. So it was a joke request, and he made.
With 65 meters is in metric. Can you give that in eagles for the American audience?
I don't even know what that is. So I met.
Here.
I thought that was funny, and
link.
He talked about gaming, and I'm like, "Hey, you want to play? You want to?"
Oh, I did it wrong.
I was a customer, and we just started chatting, and we just really hit it off. We just had a lot of the same interests, and it worked. It worked out, and then we became friends.
And then there was one point where Anish had to tell his spouse Trisha, "Hey, I'm gonna fly to Martha's Vineyard and hang out with my friend Mike that I met on the internet."
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Trisha came, so.
Oh, the first time Trisha went also.
Trisha went too.
Okay, okay. How many times have you been there?
I've been there 3 times.
Wow.
Has it been 3 times?
It's been 3 times.
Yeah.
One time you took your friend Jason, our friend Jason.
Anybody can fly to my house. It's physically impossible for me to stop you. Like, I mean, I don't know how I'd do it.
But do you have to take a ferry to get actually?
Yeah,
where
you have to
live?
take. You have to take
And then
at least.
this
You
address?
always have to at least take at least two modes of transportation. Most people would have to take at least 3 modes of transportation to get there.
Hiking with your sword through thistle.
Yep.
Oh, I don't think I can comment. There's no comments underneath the thing. I pinned it in that live stream.
If you put it in the description, it should update.
Okay, hang on. Description. Link. Oh, come on. Link to auction.
Impressive.
Whoop. Shloop. Save. 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 It should be doing it.
I think if you talk to your laptop, it works better.
I mean, I hope so.
I think that it's true.
It makes me feel better.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. Do we need a link on the Owl Facebook one? We're quadro streaming or something.
Quadro
Yes, the
streaming?
stream is going to 4 different sites simultaneously. Hope's Facebook, Hope's YouTube, Mike's Facebook. So it was an interesting stream to set up, and in all of that, I forgot the description. That was my bad.
Link to auction. Yeah, Anish is very good with the owl technology. I am not. Whoop. Oh, no, this is the wrong one. I was going to try and comment on the. Is there a link to the auction in the Facebook live chat?
Yes. In the
Okay.
live chat, it's been up.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so there we go.
Is there an update as to where the auction is? Is it
It
still
was
around
at. I just saw a thing there. I don't know how old it was. That it was at 2,300.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so people have been doing it.
All right. I know there was someone in the comments who said that they would go up to $5,000.
Well, we'll have to see, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have the courage to put 4,999 to see if it was real.
I would not trust the veracity of the things people say in internet comments, so you're probably better off not doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. Is there any other interesting?
Yeah. So some people are asking the normal things like, where in Ireland are you from? Like
Galway, Ireland. It's on the west coast.
How did you get to?
Do you
live
know
on Martha's Vineyard?
Galway is if my spouse could move anywhere in the world, it would be Galway. I'm excited for you to meet Ryan.
Huh.
He feels at home there.
Huh.
We went into a bar there where they were playing Iron Maiden. This is only a few years ago. And my husband is skinny and bald and wears a black t-shirt and Doc Martens all the time and has for the entire time we've been married, which is 25 years.
Was the bar called Sally Long's?
Maybe.
Yeah, because that's the type of bar. That's where you would expect that to happen in Galway.
And my friend and I who were there were like, how long do we have to be here? And Ryan was like, I found my people. I need to move here. And they just started talking. He was just talking to all the people, and he felt like he was home.
That's nice. Yeah, I also feel like I'm home, but it's a little bit more stressful when you're related to the people.
Yeah, we're not related to anyone in Galway, so
Yeah.
it can just be fun. We spent a New Year's Eve there.
Oh, that's
when
fun.
we were in our first year of marriage. Too.
Huh.
It was fun, and we did not keep up with anyone who was Irish. In fact, I didn't drink much that night because I was afraid.
Huh. I went back with the kids for the first time in 4 years, a month or two ago, something like that. And normally you take them back when the flights are cheap and it rains. So I splashed out because it was the first time we were back in 4 years, and we went back in like the end of June, start of August, and we were really lucky. It only rained half the time we were there. Yeah, so that was it. Anish, was there any more questions on the thing?
Does anyone know the loss in shipping swords to England? I've shipped them there before, so they do get there eventually.
Yes, I have. Sometimes you have to write down that it's a piece of sculpture, and like I've said, I have no problem doing that because I consider these pieces of sculpture. Like I shipped I think there's a video floating around online, like the biomechan axe, which I met a while ago, the H.R. Geiger looking axe. There's a video online of the guy who got that in England unboxing it, and it's a very strange video because like he's in the middle of this like office space, and he's just unpacking this giant sword, and like everybody around him is stopping what they've done. There are like all these people standing up at these like cubicle looking things, like are watching this like crazy insane thing be unpacked, and then like I think people clap when he eventually gets it out of the pack, like, because I have to pack these things up. This one is nice and neat in that it fits in a normal box.
And you know it can. You know it'll get on a plane.
I know it'll get on a plane, but the important thing is it's in a normal box, because normally the shipping is, with the big huge ones, is expensive, so I try to ship them up as tight and neatly as possible, and this sometimes results in axes being sent in a big axe-shaped box, you know? And I'm always a little bit nervous that like something weird is going to happen, somebody's going to see that and go, that is the shape of a giant axe, but there's no way that's actually a giant axe, because that's not a thing that exists. But I've been very lucky so far. The only time anything, it was actually to England. A Buster sword back in the day when I didn't quite know what I was doing. A couple of years after Nova was born, so like before I moved to the States, like so sometime in between 2007 and 2009, I shipped a Buster sword to England, and I didn't quite know what I was doing, so I didn't pack it up quite as well as I should have. Like nowadays, I always put wooden parts around anything that's sharp or pointy, and then the rest is like cardboard, and because I'm trying to keep the weight down as well, because I don't want these people to have to pay, like, I could put everything in a huge wooden crate and just charge them for it, but then like in some cases that would make shipping go up an extra $1,000, you know?
Gosh. And
it's like, so instead, like a full wooden crate can double the weight of some of these things, you know? Wow. And like if you're already paying, like I shipped a sword to Australia once, and it cost the poor guy $1,500 just in shipping to get this 70-pound, 6-foot long sword to, I think it was closer to 7 foot long, but it was like a massive thing.
But this one,
nice and neat. So that one was shipped almost anywhere, I think.
yeah, because it's the box you just pulled it out of. You can.
Yeah, like it's that one I'm not too worried about. I think I did a New Year's live stream just to tell people I was still alive, and the hat that I made for the Power Sword video, it's like a cardboard and duct tape hat, and I hadn't really planned on doing the live stream, so I was all disorganized, and I said, hey, whoever donates money to Doctors Without Borders, I'll send them this hat. And so somebody did, and then they were like, I said, where are you located? And he said, Australia. And I went down to the post office with this cardboard and duct tape hat in a box. And I said, I need to post this to Australia, please. I know it'll be pricey, but the guy donated to charity. And I found out in the United States, you can no longer post things to Australia or New Zealand. There is no post between Australia, New Zealand, and the United States. And they said, take it down to FedEx. So I went down to FedEx, and they said, we want to charge you $500 to post this cardboard and duct tape hat to Australia or New Zealand. I can't remember which one he was in. I have his address saved for at some mythical point in the future when the United States gets its act together and has a functioning postal system. I've already forgotten the point I was making. This Buster sword I was shipping to England escaped. It ripped out, it came out of the side of the packaging, and it chased a FedEx man around a FedEx facility, and it tried to eat him. And so I got a phone call from the FedEx facility saying, did you ship a guillotine? Did you send a guillotine through FedEx? Is that what you did? And I said, it wasn't a guillotine, what's the problem? And they told me about the people, but nobody was refusing to touch it. They'd sealed up that room, and like they were just refusing to go near it. But luckily...
Did it have like the police tape around it?
Yeah, but luckily, I don't know, I hope it did. It wouldn't be police tape though, it'd be FedEx tape.
Oh, okay.
It would be like like a FedEx danger sword, like up on some room. But luckily, it was 20 minutes, where this had happened was only 20 minutes away from the customer's place where he lived. And so he very graciously, he thought it was funny, and he went and he collected it. But yeah, so I have shipped to England before. I put them in nice wooden crates, or partial wooden crates. Like for most of the sword, you know, like with regular packaging, you're trying to keep the object safe from the handlers. With most of my things, you're trying to keep the handlers safe from the object, you know?
Let's see here. There was a decent recent question. Oh yeah, do you remember that girl that found your sword? Someone was asking about that because that's someone. They're like, that's how I found your site.
Yeah.
That person.
They found me through that story.
Yeah.
That's so wacky. So yeah, there's this. People started sending me this picture of this woman who'd found one of my swords. I was like, could you believe? Well, that was the punchline. She was like, I found this like actual Buster sword at the local dump, and I was like, what? And then people sending me messages because it was clearly one of mine, and it was all rusted, like someone had abandoned it. And so I reached out. I reached out to the original customer, like who bought it, and I never heard back from them. So I don't know what this tragic story is of how this guy's Buster sword wound up at this dump, an unnamed location. But this woman, because it was a mysterious object, the guys, instead of just throwing it in the dump, they left it out front, like it was like out in like the interesting objects that have come into the dump. And eventually, this woman convinced them to buy. I think her name was K Bebop over on Instagram, but I might be mispronouncing that wrong. If you search Reddit for I found a Buster sword at the dump or garbage, whatever Americans call a landfill, you know, like if you search like found Buster sword at blah blah blah, you'll probably see a picture of like a relatively cute looking woman holding one of my things that looks all rusty and stuff. And I don't know how it wound up there. I reached out to her, we were talking, I told her how she could repair it and restore it back to its original condition if she felt like it, but it's so rusty, it would be such a monstrous amount of work. I have no idea if she ever did that, but why don't you go investigate that, because that was a funny story.
And people have found you through that?
Apparently, people have found me through that Reddit post. Maybe I should see.
I don't know if anyone's watching this on the Hope Facebook Live, but here's the other weird Venn diagram connection that could happen. Our church also has drag queens and drag worship, so we don't know what intersection there is between people who love the artistry of drag and love the artistry of sword sculpturing, but I'm sure there's somebody who fits in the middle of that.
Yeah, I consider the swords and stuff I do very theatrical. And like I said, because I try not to be hateful in what I do, like I don't know how many like average LBGTQ plus fans the average sword maker would use, but I guarantee you I have more, you know. And
especially now.
Yeah, so if there is a drag person who is into drag who likes swords, there's a fair good chance that they're like watch my stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Because of just like I try, yeah, like I said, I have no time for hate. I have no time for being nasty for nastiness' sake. I don't know. It doesn't have to come along for the ride. You can be into swords and sharp things and interesting sculptural objects and metal work and getting cut up with angle grinders, and but without necessarily being like hateful to anyone. And so
it's kind of like religion. What? You can be connected to the source of love and not be hateful.
Yep, it sure would be nice if on paper that was. I mean, I guess both of us are here trying to prove that that's possible. Yeah.
Well, the rest of the world is trying to prove it.
The other direction.
The other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is there any other questions, Anish?
People are just asking generally how Nova and Christopher are doing.
They're at summer camp. So I was originally like, oh no, I'm taking this like decadent holiday for myself and like I'm going to be away from the kids. But they're at summer camp, so it's okay that I'm away from the kids. Nova's summer camp is difficult to contact, but apparently there's a way to send Christopher an email. So we like to do a game at dinner time sometimes where he'll have a big mouthful of water and he'll try not to laugh while I just try to make him laugh. I don't even know calling it a game is accurate because like he always loses. Like he's never won this game, but he's the one who always wants to play it. Like he always likes this thing we do where he has a big mouthful of water and then I'll just look at him and go, sheesh, and then he'll like laugh, you know, because that's like, I don't understand Zoomer humor really, but like apparently that's a thing that he finds extremely funny and it makes him laugh. I don't even know, does he count as a Zoomer? Are you a Zoomer when you're like 11? But you can send his camp emails, and they apparently have to print them out and give them to them. So I'm going to leave instructions for one of the camp counselors to play that game with Christopher. I'll be like, Christopher, get yourself a big mouthful of water and hand this email to like one of your camp counselors. And then the rest of the email is just going to be in quotations saying, sheesh.
I find it interesting that you call a trip to Bloomington, Illinois, a decadent vacation.
Well, I'm supposed to be working and making swords. I'm not supposed to be having fun.
Oh.
Yeah. Like, it's decadent. I was at medieval times last night. I know not such things. It's like, I'm supposed to be eating beans in a shack. Like, I'm not supposed to be having nice things.
Oh.
Yeah.
What of your current projects coming up, which ones have you the most excited?
Oh, let me see. Of the current ones coming up, what's in the pipe? I have there's the scythe from Buffy, and there's the Leviathan axe. I'm kind of looking forward to the Leviathan axe because I only have to make the head of that one. I don't have to make the handle because the handle's already done. I'm kind of looking forward to making the smash video for this Dishonored sword, even though that one was so complicated to actually make. What else is in the pipe? What else is in the list? Is it on an external drive file, open recent? Do I have things that come in orders? No. I try to think. Because I try also not to think too hard about like the things coming up. I don't have a big list of it here. Sorry, guys. It's on an external drive back in Massachusetts because I get like sad about the like amount of work that's like hovering above me, like a Damocles sword. Except it's like a Damocles sword that's saying like, you gotta make me in a couple of months. Remember, you gotta do all that hard labor. And you're also ridiculously behind because you put in way too much time and effort into every little thing. Why can't you just move quickly or be more efficient, you big dumb? And so that's my life.
Do you ever make blunt weapons? I know you do.
Blunt weapons?
Yep. But I know you do, but you could.
I mean, I will make anything as long as it is like, do you mean like a thing that's supposed to be sharp and I've just made it blunt? Or is it like like?
No, I think they're asking you, do you make things other than swords?
Yeah, because I would totally, I don't think I would, part of the shtick, this is like a weird thing I'm stuck in, is like I'm desperate to prove that these things I make are like authentic replicas or whatever, so they generally have to be sharp. So I don't think I would make like an actual steel weapon that didn't have an edge. But would I make some sort of like giant club that looked cool? Totally. Like I would, I have nothing against, as long as it's weird. That's the only thing. It's like I won't make
Wolfguard's hammer.
I meant the big hammer, like the Wolfgar's hammer from, what was the name of the books? The Salvatore?
Yeah, alright, so the Dritz stuff.
What's the name of that series though?
Companions of the Hall series.
Yeah, is that the name of it? I say you say that phrase and it's new to me, so I obviously never knew the name of that. They're like
most people just refer to it as the Dritz stuff. He's in a bunch of things, the Icewind Dale trilogy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll make like a hammer, and I haven't had any takers on a shield because generally fantasy shields tend to be like so big and so heavy. I'm like, I can make this, but like you're envisioning yourself holding this and deflecting stuff with it. This will be like an awesome ornament that you will need help from two of your bigger friends to mount on a wall, but like it's not going to be a thing you can use. So I generally don't have takers for that. Fantasy hammers tend to be very large, and I often say to people like, even if I make this out of half-inch thick hardox, if I make it a half-inch thick hardox box, it will still weigh in excess of 80, 90 pounds. And it'll be strong enough to use. Like a human is not going to be able to bend half-inch thick hardox. But like yet again, not as many takers for that as the swords. So yeah, I have nothing against making other weird fantasy objects that I can hit things that are on fire with while some sort of heavy metal and or epic music plays.
Can you hold up the sword so we can do a zoom
Whoop.
on it?
Yeah.
Do a zoom
Sword.
there, Nick. Some people wanted to see the sword.
I don't know, do you need more light on it? No, this one is sharp. Do I need to move? Tell me.
No, just stay still so he can zoom in.
Oh.
Sorry, I moved too much.
Yeah, it's fine.
There we go.
Yeah.
Like this, see it. Bloop, bloop. I'm very clean today because I was traveling and I had a shower and stuff. Normally when I do these live streams, I'm covered in grime. This is like I don't know, is it zoomed in? You can see my face more clearly, but this is like the cleanest you guys will probably ever see me. Unless you tune into one of the Patreon exclusive shower streams. Is that it? Did you get the
Yep.
shot?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to tell anybody about if they're going to be at Gen Con?
Oh yeah. So part of this like wild decadent trip I'm having is I'm going to Gen Con in Indianapolis. So if any of you all are at Gen Con, I don't know how you would find me. I'll be the hairy guy. Actually, that doesn't help. Gen Con's probably going to have a lot of hairy beardy guys. It might even have the odd hairy beardy guy who is also wearing this T-shirt. So that I don't know how. What, like a hairy beardy guy with this T-shirt who also sounds like me, I guess, and is wearing the apron and stuff. But yeah, I'll be at Gen Con, so if any of y'all are at Gen Con, you can bump into me. Maybe send me a message somehow. I don't know. I hope if somebody is at Gen Con and wants to meet me, they manage to do that. I don't know. I'll shoot a flare into the sky on noon of the second day of Gen Con and just follow where the flare is. I'll be underneath the pile of security guards.
On the third day, look to the east.
Yeah. Is there any other questions?
What is Gen Con is now a question.
What is Gen Con? So I did not know why Gen Con was called Gen Con, but apparently it used to be held in Lake Geneva. So that's why, even though now it's held in Indianapolis, it is the world's. It's not. I don't know. Is it the world's biggest tabletop gaming convention? But it's going to be the world's biggest nerd gaming convention that I've ever been to. Did you say it was like 30,000 people last time it was in person?
Oh no, 70.
70,000 people.
Yeah.
Last time it was in person. That's insane. Like coming from Ireland, like one of my favorite things to do back in my halcyon days as a bachelor was to go to like every nerd tabletop convention in Ireland because there was like 10 of them, but it was like wild because you'd see the same people over and over again. It's like, each nerd gaming convention in Ireland might have, I think the bigger ones would have a couple of thousand people, but then like the smaller ones, you might be ones that only had like a couple of hundred people. And it was like, oh, it's so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And so yes, I can't even imagine a nerd gaming convention that has like 7. I don't know, do people like me using the word nerd? I don't care. That's what I call it. I'm into tabletop nerd stuff. And so that's what Gen Con is, 70,000 people. I'll be one of them if you're looking for me. That's a lot of people. I'll definitely need that flare gun.
There's a question for you, Jenny. They say, let's hear more from the lady in the picture. What church is it? Where's the money going?
The lady.
Oh yeah, what they want to know again. This is a feature of live streams where, like, because you introduced yourself and said what you were about at the beginning, you'll need to do that again. And I think they also want to know what types of things the money from this auction will be paying for. I'm going to use this opportunity to get a drink of. Is there water around? No. Anyone have a water?
There's water downstairs. I am, as Mike would call me, a priest, but in my tradition, I'm Reverend Dr. Jenny Edwards Bertrand. We're standing here in my church, which is called Hope, and we hope to help people find hope, be hope in the world. And honestly, this church is made up of lots of people in their 20s and 30s. On any given Sunday, anywhere from 40 to 60, 70% of the congregation identifies as queer, which is very unique for a church. And we have a lot of people who have been kicked out of their homes because they came out to their parents, which is horrific. Never do that. That just seems like the most awful thing that a parent can do to a child.
I mean, you wouldn't think that would have to be explained, but there you go.
I know. Like, just like, oh, my child is gay. What do I do? Love them. That's what you do. You don't think you have to explain that.
Yeah.
And so we have this big gay church, and Anish, who helped start this church. By the way, this church started with just my spouse and I. We were the only two people. And then Anish was person number 3. And we're in the middle of Illinois. We are surrounded by cornfields. It's traditionally, this is a more conservative area. There are hundreds of churches here. And we are one of the only that's fully LGBTQ inclusive, meaning we don't just say, oh, you can come here and sit in the back. We have on staff someone who identifies as queer, is a drag queen, and who leads the church. So people in leadership, people, and is a certified candidate for ordained ministry, which if you thought it sounded nerdy to do tabletop gaming, certified candidate for ordained ministry is probably even nerdier.
Oh no, I've often said there's a lot of like overlap between Bible nerds and like, you know, that kind of stuff, and like it's just like, yeah, just a lot of like deep lore. Like, if I mean, you know, if you could construct an overheard conversation between 2 Bible geeks and 2 Lord of the Rings nerds and not be quite sure
Which is which?
Yeah.
Who is who? There's some water.
Am I getting a Capri Sun? Oh my God. Oh, this is a church-related story.
Yeah.
So my son, he went to a Grace Church preschool in Vineyard Haven, represent, because it was a good school or whatever. And
Do you want some help?
well, this is part of the story I was about to tell.
Oh.
So so it's been quite a long time since I've interacted with a Capri Sun. And I know it's pronounced Capri Sun. I'm being funny. Don't make fun of me.
I think it's Capri Sun.
Well, it's Capri Sun. And we can have an argument about that too. And they were having like a spaghetti dinner fundraiser thing. And like Christopher had his little Capri Sun, and he wanted me to do the thing with the straw. And it'd been like 10,000 years since I'd interacted with one of these things. This was years ago. And I'm surrounded by these nice little friendly church people having this like spaghetti dinner fundraiser thing. I don't know at what point "there is no God" replaced "God damn it" in my vernacular. So I'm there wrestling with a Capri Sun, and I'm desperately trying to get the straw through. And but whatever move I made at this like cute little spaghetti family dinner thing, I went out of frustration, and the straw went all the way through. Like it went through and out the other side of the Capri Sun. And I was so frustrated, I screamed in the middle of this little like nice little like spaghetti dinner fundraiser. I screamed, "There is no God!" And like all these old ladies were looking at me like, what happened? And stuff. Anyway.
That would work here. In fact, we did our little vacation Bible camp, and it was the Castle of Courage. So Anish brought a full suit of armor, and we made the whole place. We didn't make it look like a castle as much as medieval times.
Yeah.
But we did decorate a lot. And Anish brought his stuff.
Speaking of cute little Bible summer camps, that was the other half of the question, was like, so this fundraiser
what
we do
will
is,
it be used for?
what will the funds for the sword, what kind of things will the funds for the sword be used for? Like, what kind of things do you guys do?
Okay, well, this is going to seem like the most boring answer ever, but it turns out if you're a church, still have to pay rent. Still have to pay for internet. And those dumb things are what create the space. So then we can offer love, care, support. We end up providing a lot of time with people. This summer, we've helped people find apartments and housing to different people who were kicked out of their parents' homes, connected here, lived with church members for a while, and now have their own first apartment as like young adults who are new.
That doesn't
Sound-
seem like
so
a
the
boring
sound-
thing. That
Sound
seems
is
like
going
a.
low. Nick, what's going on? You not hearing Jenny?
I muted Mike while he was drinking.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I didn't even think about that. I think I brushed my mic. But no, that doesn't sound boring. Like the doors of this place has to stay open.
Yeah.
So when someone in desperate need comes through, well, I mean, they have to be able to come through the doors.
Exactly, exactly. And one of the cool things, we want to be community focused. We don't want to spend our money on dumb things, so we rent. Oh, it means we never ever have to do a fundraiser for the heating and cooling or paving the parking lot or any of that kind of stuff. It can really go right back into people.
Huh.
And while everyone in our church does give, when your congregation is made up of young 20-year-olds, often who have been kicked out of their homes and are having a really rough go of it, they don't have a lot to give back. So most churches who have a lot of older people that are retired and just giving away stuff like that, they have a lot of money to throw around. We literally are month to month and have to make sure that we have money for the next month. There has been
That's
times
true.
where staff has not been paid until the next month because there was not money to make it to the next month. There's just not.
There's no wiggle room. We
yeah.
don't have any endowments. I don't have anyone I can go to and say, hey, could you give it an advance or do you have some extra? But then on the other hand, like I have someone who literally lived in our local homeless shelter for 2 weeks before finding an affordable apartment, which right now that's a thing across the entire United States, affordable housing. And then I did a like real talk with Jenny. I kind of need everyone to be giving. And that person started giving a weekly amount, which was a small amount, but like, wow.
It there does seem to be some sort of weird metaphor going on here. Well, like you guys are renting this space, so Hope Church isn't this space. Hope Church is like the community.
Yes.
Whereas like a lot of my experience of churches is more like it's like the building, and like a lot of the fundraising going on is to do like, I don't know. You could make some sort of like. What's the word I'm looking for? Analogy about like you have this like old thing that's falling apart. Your flag's out.
Fell.
Oh, whoops. You have like, like this, speaking of this, things falling apart. So you have like some church where a lot of the funding and stuff is going towards keeping this like building
Yes, this old building,
that's falling apart.
and no one's going to it.
An old building that no one's going to together. Whereas like here, it's much more about like, oh, the space. You guys could be Hope Church anywhere,
Yep, and we have been.
Yeah.
There was 1 year where we had to be in 4 different locations because we were renting a space and they quintupled our rent.
Jesus Christ.
So we moved out that Sunday and had to find a space for the next Sunday.
So for those who've got people asking on the stream, where directly is the money going? So basically it's going to do things like make sure that we can pay rent next month, make sure that we can pay staff next month. And so basically going to the church just to make sure
There's
that it
the
exists.
operating expenses, but I want to say more. It's because then the time with people is free, if you will. Though we have to have a space and time and the ability to do that. But the hours and hours spent with individuals who are identifying as queer, coming out, being rejected by family, needing support, like The money isn't just going so that someone can have a
Yeah, well,
cush
this
job
is
and
kind of this is kind of trying to what I was saying. Instead of like having a church administrator or whatever, it's
we
like
don't have, which we do not have a secretary, we don't have a custodian.
yeah, it's like that's what I was saying. Is like, so when somebody in desperate need comes through here and like
Yes.
a church member winds up spending a couple of weeks living with members of the churches while you hook them up with accommodation.
Yeah.
It's not like you're paying the church members that are putting up that person.
No.
All the money is to do with keeping the front doors open so that
Yeah.
when the desperate person is looking for a place, the front doors are open.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And then the rest of it can happen because we connect people with people, but there has to be a place to connect the people with people.
So yeah, and that's like what most of it seems to be to do with.
We keep we call it scrappy. We have a very scrappy, small budget. We try to spend as few dollars as necessary to create a vibrant space that people would want to come to.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me, but just because the question was asked twice, I was curious about like, oh, how did we not explain it properly?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
does that make sense now? I hope so.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody, well, I mean, I don't know how many times I've explained I'm not a blacksmith, so.
Well, and if someone's going, are these weirdos that are going to go out on the street with a bullhorn or with tracks? No, that's not who we are. I mean, we're weird.
Yeah, no, there's nothing
But-
wrong with being weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
but-
not hateful weird or aggressive weird or.
Well, unfortunately, I think a lot of places it's hateful normal, and that's part of the problem. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it can be seen, but on our windows, we have huge stickers that just say hope. And a lot of people in town, because this was just kind of an abandoned building, have really, even people who would never walk in a church building say that they appreciate that we're trying to communicate hope in big, bold letters.
But yeah, I've noticed the church part of it is very small and skinny underneath.
Yep.
It's like, let's say you're trying to make like a insert like JPEG for
Yeah.
a YouTube video. It's like, oh boy, I had to bulk that up a bit so it would be visible at all on someone's phone when they were watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Anish, I don't know how much time we have left, and I don't know how many more questions there are. Is there anything good coming up?
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've done what we've set out to do. People know about what's going on, and I'd like to personally thank everyone for joining in
Yeah.
because this is important
Well,
to
yep.
me.
And hopefully it works out. And I think that's it. Tomorrow, when the auction is over, I think there's like 11. There was 12 hours when we started the stream, so it's probably like 11 hours left in the auction now.
Yep.
So tomorrow I'll post on the old socials about how it went, like how much the sword got up to. If you know somebody who'd like a big gay sword and they're sitting on a big pile of cash, why don't you tell someone? It's for a good cause. I think that's it. Thank you for joining us.
Can you?
Hold the sword again.
Oh,
Yep. And maybe after that, throw up the picture.
boop. Are we done?
Hold on.
This is me standing here awkwardly. I don't know, is this video live?
Yeah.
It's always weird when you're. What? Just. Is it?
Yeah. Make sure you check out Mike's YouTube page to see the build video for the sword too, guys.
I don't know who is watching this live video on YouTube who doesn't already know that I did a thing, but like, yeah, if you don't know that, then you should go to YouTube and watch me building that sword. So, is that it? Are we out of here?
Yep.
We're done.